The beauty of the journey is found not in the destination, but the scenery along the way. Nina Bennett. My guest on this episode of The Passing the Torch is a young officer in the Air Force, and she does an amazing job of promoting the benefits of our service. She also possesses a unique background with experience being homeschooled and a foreign exchange student in Bavaria. Most notably, she was the December 2019 Cadet of the Month. I went deep on that research. Without further ado, Passing the Torch with the Lanae Lang starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
What do you think about that intro and just like, what'd you think about that?
Did you go through my LinkedIn?
I did. I went through your LinkedIn, Instagram, and I did listen to you on the Fighting for Freedom podcast. I should have opened up with V. Gates.
Mir geht's sehr gut.
Yeah, sehr gut. Yeah. I'm doing sehr gut because you're here. You drove down to do this podcast in my house. I can't tell you how much this means to me. And thank you for like reminding me that we crossed paths last year in Dallas. And I was like, holy, like my mind was just blowing.
He forgot that we met.
Oh my God. I'm horrible. It's so bad. And I used to be one of those people that remember like everything, but I don't know. It seems like within the past 5 years that, I don't know what it is, but I've had a hard time remembering like people and everything, but I felt horrible. But I think I'm going to make up for it at the end because I have a gift for you.
Thank you.
And I started following your content, last year, and you've done some amazing stuff. But
Thank you so much.
yeah, and thanks for your support. I mean, you were talking about how you follow me and like you listen to my podcast, and it's like, thank you. I was at a conference last week in Houston, and someone else actually came up to me. And this hasn't happened to me a lot, but you're like, hey, you're Martin Foster, right? And and I'm in uniform. I said, yeah, that's who I am. And they're like, dude, I love your podcast. And I was like, thanks, man. It's a good feeling. Before we get into a lot of things, I was very interested. So let's talk about how was your experience as a foreign exchange student?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know about that because that was before I went into college. It was the summer after high school, and I took German all 4 years of high school.
Yeah.
And then I applied for the program. And that was my second time going out of the country. I had gone to the Dominican Republic when I was in high school for a mission trip through my church. And that was really eye-opening. And it kind of just inspired me to want to keep traveling and everything. So when I got the chance to apply for the GAP program, German-American Partnership Program, I think most high schools have a version of it. And I applied and I got it, and it was really cool. I got to have a girl, we got matched, we got paired with a family, and they had a student your age come and live with you for a month. So in Springfield, Illinois, not as exciting, but my German got to come and live with me in Springfield, Illinois for a month. We took her to St. Louis. We took her to Chicago. We tried to make Illinois as cool as we could.
Yeah.
And then I got to go live with her for a month the following summer.
Wow.
And yeah, so we were in Bavaria and it was awesome. But it was funny because I had spent 4 years learning like High German, and they speak a completely different dialect down there. And so I was super confused. But it was an amazing experience, and the food was awesome. I actually got really sick, though. I got like food poisoning or some sort of sickness on the first day. But besides that, the trip went really well.
What was, do you remember what you ate or like what you really liked?
It was the first meal that my host family made for me.
Oh
and
my
it was
gosh.
this like meaty pasta dish. And it was so good. And I don't know if it was just a travel bug.
Yeah.
But I was so sick afterwards. But then I got better, and it was an awesome experience. And it was also in 2018 during the World Cup.
Yeah.
And so we got to go to all the showings because soccer's so big in Germany.
Now, my mom's German, so I grew up on German food. And when I was a kid, we would go there in the summers and everything. So it was pretty cool. I'm glad that you mentioned the mission trip because I did read that, right? And it's on your LinkedIn profile. So... but I thought you did the mission trip after the Germany thing, but you did it before.
Yes,
but did
before.
you getting that experience in the DR, did that help influence your decision to try this, to be the exchange student?
Yeah, it 100% did because I think that I think that travel is just the best thing ever. Like
Hmm.
that's why I joined the Air Force was for more opportunities like that
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have gotten to do it
And you've
otherwise.
been doing a lot. I've seen that.
I
Yeah, it's
have.
awesome.
I have. And yeah, it was just obviously like a completely different way of life. And it really made me thankful for what we have. I think that a problem that we have in America in general is we take things for granted.
Yeah.
And when you go overseas in other countries, and especially the mountain town that I was in Santiago, like we were sleeping on the floor. There was one shower in the little village, and it was just like a trickle shower. And the food we had was actually really good, but it was all just like stuff that they could source there. And yeah, it just made me really thankful. And then I just wanted more experiences like that. And I wanted everyone to be able to experience that. And yeah, it was really life changing.
No, that's great. Yeah, so kind of let's go a little bit deeper. How do you think that shaped your overall perspective on, because what, you were 17 or 18 during this time?
I think I was 16 on that trip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a very formative age. But how did that kind of shape your perspective on other cultures, just the world in general?
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, before that, I hadn't had a lot of exposure to other cultures.
Yeah,
So while I'm not from America, I came here I was less than a year old.
Vietnamese, right?
Yes, I'm Vietnamese, and I didn't remember anything from Vietnam and hadn't. I actually got to go back last year, but before that, I hadn't gone back. So I just grew up in Springfield, Illinois, was mostly all that I knew.
Yeah,
And we had culture there, but I wouldn't say it's, to the extent of actually going and experiencing like another country. And so I feel like I kind of grew up in a little bubble. And especially, I was homeschooled
yeah,
growing up. And my parents did an amazing job at getting me in sports, getting me involved in church. If I was interested in something, they would let me try it.
yeah,
And so I had a ton of friends and stuff, but I would still say it was a bubble.
yeah.
So getting to experience like the Dominican Republic, and since then I've gone many other places and met so many other people, and I have such an
Like
appreciation
Dallas.
for it. Oh, Dallas. I loved Dallas. That was the best Mexican food ever. Yeah.
No, and then we got to cross paths, which I totally remember that whole story. What was Vietnam like?
Yes, so I got to go back to Vietnam, and Da Nang, Vietnam is where I was born. And my best friend from home, she was teaching English abroad in Thailand, and Thailand's right next to Vietnam. And I wasn't planning on going out there, or I always wanted to. But then once my friend was out there, I was like, okay, my friend is already there. This is the chance of a lifetime. We can check out Vietnam together. And she's already been in Asia for a little bit,
Yeah,
so I feel comfortable going. And I just flew there by myself to Thailand. Actually, spent more time in Thailand. Super cool. We went to Bangkok. We
nice.
went to Kanchanbury. I'm pronouncing it
No,
wrong.
no, that's fine.
But
That's fine.
that's where all the waterfalls are, the famous waterfalls in Thailand.
Yeah.
And then we flew to Da Nang and spent 4 days there. And it was so beautiful. And I love hot, humid weather, unpopular opinion, but I love it. And it was so hot and humid every day, and it was awesome. And the food was amazing. I didn't get sick there like I did in Germany, and it has beaches and mountains, and they actually have a like theme park up in the mountains, kind of like a Disney World, all the
Okay.
way up in the mountains.
Nice.
It was so cool. And we didn't know a lot of Vietnamese, and there was a pretty big language barrier there versus as in Europe, a lot of people know English. That's not always the case in certain places you go in Vietnam and Thailand, but everyone was super friendly, and it was really cool also to see so many people that looked like me
Yeah.
in one spot, and it was an awesome experience.
Well, I
Yeah.
bet most people would they probably think you're what, Hawaiian or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was actually in Da Nang, Vietnam, where I was born, and they were asking me where I was from. They didn't think I was from there. I guess, and also we were tourists and kind of stuck out like a sore
Yeah.
thumb. But I get Hawaiian all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
I lived there for 4.5 years,
Yeah.
and I could see it. But But I knew that just from that you're Vietnamese just through I think I've listened to another podcast and
Yeah.
just followed a lot of your content, and you've mentioned that before. Growing up, who did you count as like your role models and inspiration?
Yeah. Yeah, so I both my so I grew up, this was my like family
Hmm.
dynamic. It was my mom, my dad, my brother, and my grandma lived with us.
Oh, nice.
And my grandma has lived with us ever since as long as I can
I
remember.
love that.
And my dad builds houses. That's his job. And so in each house that we lived in, he would build my grandma a condo, like in our basement or something, and she just like lived with us. And I'd say definitely like my dad owning his own business and doing construction, and he never went to college,
Yeah.
but he started working right when he was like 18 in construction, and he became super successful, owns his own business, and like works for himself.
That's awesome.
And I saw the hard work and everything that went into that. And I also saw how he didn't have a lot of time off. Um, but he worked super hard so that my mom could homeschool me and my brother, and so that my mom could stay home. And then I got to be I got to spend a lot more time with my family than I think 99% of kids, just because I was homeschooled.
That's
And
incredible.
my dad owned his own business, so he
Alexa,
would try to
stop.
come home in every evening, and it was great seeing that. And I think I can appreciate it now looking back. At the time, I didn't love being homeschooled,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to be like everyone else and go to public school. But they taught me so much during that time that I now take with me as an adult, and I didn't see it at the time, but all of their like life lessons and everything has really stuck with me. And then my brother is also very hardworking and very determined. And so, cliche answer, I definitely look up to my family, but I also had really good role models growing up in my churches, like
Okay.
just small group leaders. And we had a really good youth pastor when I was in middle school, just phenomenal, and just always saw the best in everyone. And he was a really good role model too. His name is Chris Paoni,
Okay.
and he was our youth pastor at Cherry Hills Church in Springfield,
Wow.
Illinois.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your grandfathers.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what's their story?
Okay, so in high school, I was given an assignment. I don't know if it was my English class or something, but we had to interview our grandparents or
Yeah.
like grandparent figure in our lives and just ask them about what life was like and what they did and everything. And it happens that both my grandparents, well, both my grandpas, were in the Air Force. And one of them worked on bombs, and then the other, oh, I can't remember. Oh, he'd be so upset with me. I can't remember exactly what he did, but I do remember hearing about all of his travels. And I sat down with them, and my one grandpa on my mom's side said that he regretted not staying in longer.
Mm.
So he kind of just did his 4 years and then got out and pursued other interests. But he would tell me about his time in the Air Force, and he was always like happy when he
Yeah.
reflected on his time in the service. And then same with my other grandpa, and he had a tough time growing up. He was from Germany during World War II, and
Oof.
he was Jewish, and he had a really hard time growing up, and he went through a lot of things. But he did briefly tell me about his time in the service as well, and I hadn't really considered service for me at that point. And it was actually our my cousin who was kind of more interested in it and told me about it, because we
Yeah.
had both grown up hearing our grandparents' stories. And my cousin then wanted to be a nurse in the Air Force. And she's who told me about the RTC program. I didn't consider it at all. I thought that I was going to go be a wedding planner in Chicago. That's what I thought my career path was going to
That's
go.
yeah. I feel like it's like the plot for a J-Lo movie or some rom-com
Yeah.
in the mid 2000s. But no, that's really cool. I love and I kind of wanted to talk about this because you briefly mentioned it in another podcast that I listened to you on. But you specifically in that podcast, you had mentioned like, hey, I loved hearing their stories, and I mean, just thinking about your grandfather as a Jewish person in 1940s Germany,
Yeah.
or working like loading bombs, or their specific job. So you heard their stories, but of all the and I know like you're still very young, but you've accomplished a lot, especially like with travel. If you could hear a story told about your life, or one like part of your life, but it was told from the perspective of your grandfathers,
Oh.
like what's the story that you would love to hear told from again their perspective?
Like what they think of my active duty career?
Or no, just in general, like that how you were sitting at a dinner table and like they're recounting their time and telling their stories, but if they were doing that with other people or even with you,
Mm-hmm.
and they're telling a story about you, like what story would you want them to tell?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't know if this answers the question exactly, but I can think of a special moment between me and my grandpa on my mom's side.
Perfect.
And that was because again, they were just telling me this. I think I was 16 and I was like, that's cool, grandpa. Awesome. But I'm not going to
Texting on
go
the
that
phone.
route. But it is true that you can plant something in someone's mind and they don't necessarily realize it at the time. And then a couple years later, something happens and then they decide to pursue that route. So I know that my whole family, grandparents included, were very excited for me when I decided to apply for the RTC scholarship. And I know that they tell everyone and all their friends that my granddaughter is in the military and she's serving and she's out in Colorado. And my grandpa got to be my first salute when I commissioned. And he's pretty old. No offense, grandpa. He's pretty old, and they made it all the way out from Illinois to Ohio, which is an 8-hour drive, so
That's a lot.
pretty decent travel.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa got to be my first salute
Man.
when I commissioned and do the coin and everything. And that
That's
was
so
a
awesome.
really cool moment.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
How'd you like that question?
That was good.
It's
That was
funny
good.
because before we started recording, you showed me the notes on your phone. You're like, "Are you gonna ask me tough questions?" And
He
here's
asks people hard questions.
And what's funny is sometimes I don't plan them. It's just we're having a conversation, and
Yeah.
this is why I like the in-person conversation. I want to ask him this. So one of my earlier episodes, I had on a guy named Andrew Bustamante.
Mm-hmm.
He's a he went to Air Force Academy, former intel officer, but he like ended up working for the CIA.
Oh, wow. That's
And now
really
he's like
cool.
this, like he has like a spy, whatever. It's called everydayspy.com. But I think like when I was reading about him at the time, like this is in 2021 actually. He hadn't done a lot of podcasts. Like for example, he only had like 1,000 followers on Instagram or something
Mhm.
like that. Now he has like 2 million. Just
Yeah.
over the past 3 years, just skyrocketed. But so when I was researching him, there wasn't a whole lot about him. But I read something, or maybe as we were doing the podcast, he shared that like he was abused as a kid, and and I don't want to go into full detail, but some pretty graphic stuff, right?
Yeah.
So then I was just like, hey, was there like any childhood trauma coping mechanism that you had as a kid that you thought was normal, but then realized now in adulthood like it's not? And he was like, mine was blown like that I asked that question. Wasn't intending to ask that. It kind of just came in the moment. But I thought it was cool that you're like, hey, I listened to this episode and here's the questions. Are you going to ask these?
Yeah, I was nervous.
So I remember a question with her, like, because I'm only trying to set people up for success, and
Yeah.
it's all like we were, and I appreciate the compliment before recording. Like, it's all good stuff, right? I'm trying to promote people and highlight them and share their story. I remember I asked Riley a specific question, like, hey, because she said some crazy things happened too, right? But I was like, besides what she had shared, I was like, what are you running from, and what are you running toward? Anyway, yeah, I get kind of philosophical sometimes.
Yeah. No, I loved listening to their answers.
I appreciate that. Let's transition to like your actual Air Force stuff.
Yes.
You had mentioned that you did not get a single base on your initial like dream list, but in hindsight, how has that benefited you?
I can go on about this.
Yeah.
I think that they always told us in RTC. They tried to set us up.
Shout out to Detachment
Detachment 650.
Yeah, Ohio University. Yeah.
Bobcats.
Bobcats.
Amazing detachment, amazing leadership, amazing people. A small detachment, but because of that, we really got to like focus on helping each other.
That's good.
And I there's something special about a small detachment. But yes, I did not get a single base on my list, and I thought that I would, because actually of everyone, I had the best chance of getting a base that I wanted, because if you don't know, I'm force support, and force support is needed everywhere.
Exactly.
Every single base, there are multiple billets that a force support officer can sit. So I thought hands down,
Yep.
I was going to get what I wanted, which, surprise, surprise, was Florida, Hawaii, California, Charleston. I wanted to be coastal. I really wanted to be near the ocean. Where does Air Force send me? Right in the middle of the states, so landlocked, Colorado. And I had been to Colorado once for a ski trip, and I remember telling my friends, wow, this is so pretty. I love it. I wouldn't want to live here, though. And hey, Air Force heard that. They heard me say that. So I remember my commander calling, because he would call us in individually and tell us our assignments before so for our AFSC, we would all get them together. But for our individual assignment base, he would tell us individually. And so I remember getting called into his office, so excited, and I was one of the first people to know, I think. And the first thing he said to me was, you didn't get a single base on your list, but I think you'll still like it. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. If I didn't get Florida or Hawaii, I don't like it already. And then he told me Colorado. And I was like, okay, I'm naturey. I like hiking. I like the outdoors. I like sports.
Yeah.
Maybe that won't be too bad. And then I started researching Colorado Springs and everything there is to do around there. And I wasn't upset. I think I accepted it within the first week. And frankly, for not getting a single base on your list, that's pretty good spot to get. And I have loved it. I would not have wanted to go anywhere else. And since then, I have gotten to travel.
Yeah.
Actually, besides Hawaii, I've gotten to go to all of the bases that I thought that I wanted for TDYs or for work, or because my friends got stationed there and I ended up visiting them. And I like it, but I always think Colorado was where I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And Florida's great, but for me personally, it doesn't compare to the mountains.
Yeah.
And being in the mountains and skiing and snowboarding and the hiking. I can go to Florida anytime, but it's been special living in Colorado. For sure.
No, I love it. And again, I see all the videos and it looks like you're living your best life. It's like I'm clapping for you. And I know I'll message you and like, that's awesome and stuff like that. One of the things I noticed too, because you talked about you were feeling lonely when you first got to Colorado, right? So 22, 23 years old at that time, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about a friendship from the past 2 to 3 years and how that friendship, a new friendship, and how that came about.
Yeah. Okay. So I was very lonely when I first got there. The most lonely I'd ever been in my entire life. I had just ended a relationship that I had been in for 2 years, and I thought we were going to be together longer than that. I got out to Colorado. I realized it wasn't working, and so I decided to break up, and I was completely alone, like didn't have friends or family out there, and then also coworkers wise, there weren't any peers. And where I'm stationed too, it was really hard to meet people. And just in my job, I wasn't really going out meeting people. Yeah. So that was really difficult. And I still feel a little bit lonely sometimes when my friends are deployed, or I have 3 or 4 friends right now, really good friends that are deployed. And they get back in December and I'm so excited. But yes, I have made some very special friendships out here, and I had to put myself out there. It was not easy. They did not just come to me. I had to kind of do the work. And around the time that I was lonely, and that's when I started posting on social media. Yeah. And I actually met friends through social media. Like, it's true that the networking is great through that, putting yourself out there. And other officers in the area would DM me and ask me about stuff. And then we'd grab coffee or
That's awesome.
we'd go to the gym or something. And then I tried to get involved in church things and I tried to go to as many events as I can. I recently joined a running club. It's really fun.
Did you do a Spartan race
I
recently?
also did a Spartan race.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just doing those things and actually talking to people. Like
Yeah.
when it's easy to go to those things and want people to talk to you, but those other people in that same situation are thinking the same thing. So then I've always kind of been an initiator and a go-getter. And so if I see someone I want to be friends with, I go up and talk to them and it normally ends up going great. And I've made 3 or 4 really close girlfriends. Funny enough, all Army. Boo Army. But Fort Carson is right there and
Yeah.
they have a ton of LTs. And also downtown Colorado Springs, where people like to spend the weekends, is also a great place to meet people. And yeah, it's very special and we have the same interests, similar schedules, and it really is a good community. And Colorado Springs is also a lot of military,
Yeah.
same with a lot of other areas. And so if you put yourself out there, you can find people that you relate with.
Now, I love it. And you have this just great natural aura about you. So
Thank you.
It's just, when you came to my house, there was just an instant smile and just a hug. And it's very welcoming, very, very warm. I can't imagine anyone not liking you.
Oh.
But
I have my haters, but
we'll
thank
get
you.
to it. We'll get to it. What is your advice for balancing your passions outside of active duty?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll be the first to say I haven't always been the best at this, on both sides.
Yeah.
So in your military career, you're going to have assignments where you have more free time, and then you're going to have assignments where you don't. And in my first 2 years, when I was assigned to my space unit, we weren't operational. So we didn't serve customers.
Yeah.
We were still building up the Delta. And so honestly, like we had more free time, and that gave me the chance to kind of like work on PR things and media things and other interests that I wanted to do. And I even had a part-time job during that time.
Where'd you work?
Lifetime Fitness.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got my off-duty employment form approved. I was trying to pay off my car super fast.
Yeah.
So I talked to my supervisor. I was like, this is my financial goals.
This is the one in Colorado Springs?
Yes.
Man, that one is nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah. And so I talked to my supervisor. I was like, this is my financial goals. On weekends when I'm not working and when we don't have anything going on, can I pursue this part-time job?
You're young, you're single, you know,
Yeah.
more flexibility, right?
And so it got approved by JAG, it got approved by the commander, and I had a lot of time to pursue outside things. And then I switched jobs to left Space Force and switched to Air Force, military personnel flight.
Mhm.
And for y'all that don't know, they are very busy. They do all of the customer service, force management, career development, things for the base. We actively serve customers every single day, 7:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
And there's always something going on. And there's always like a problem or an issue. And that's just kind of life of personnel admin. And I did not have a lot of free time, and I struggled with the environment a little bit and wanting to show up every day and work hard when I wasn't getting my cup filled in
Yeah.
other aspects. It was hard for me, but I had an amazing SEL. He's still there and he's awesome.
What's his name?
Master Sergeant Jesus Petch.
Okay.
He's awesome. And he really like grounded me, mentored me, and I made so many mistakes in that job. And sometimes I didn't prioritize the job enough, and I would try to fill my cup in other ways. But then it is really hard to balance that. But I had leadership that would keep me in check. I had airmen that would let me know if they were going through issues and if they needed more from me. And I would do my best to try to solve those and be as present as I can. And sometimes I would go home at the end of the day very drained, and I wouldn't have time for the other things I was interested in.
Yeah.
But anytime there was spare time or on my lunch breaks, or sometimes I would have to wake up a little earlier to pursue it. And that's when I would try to balance out the things that I was also interested in. But have I been perfect at it? No. There's definitely been times where I should have been giving more to work, or maybe I was giving so much to work and getting burned out.
Yeah. What's the best constructive criticism that you received?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I I have gotten so much constructive criticism. And that's the great thing, is that I try to just take it. I don't like talk back or try to defend myself. Like, that's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And perception is reality sometimes. Like, we've even just the like being on your phone too much, or taking too long of a lunch break. I have gotten that before, or not being as present, or not seeming as focused. And when I get that feedback, or they feel like I'm not fully in, it hurts, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, but I'm still here. I'm still present. But if your airmen aren't seeing that, or maybe your leadership is seeing something else, then that's good for me to know. And luckily, I have an environment where we do all talk to each other and try to hold each other accountable. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I want to transition to some lighter topics. Right,
yes.
So, were those questions tough enough for you?
No, that was good.
Yeah, because I'm just really interested about like who you are as a person, and I mean, these are my notes about you and stuff. So we'll get to it, because I don't want to give a spoiler. But yeah, I think there's a lot of cool things to talk about. All right, are you ready for some miscellaneous questions? There's no rhyme or reason.
Okay.
So, and the answer can be I don't know. So,
okay.
All right. If you were to write a crush letter to one Netflix character, who would it be?
Ooh. Okay, I can think of a few. Have you seen, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's on Amazon Prime. This is the first thing that came to mind, but it's based on the books, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and it is just a feel-good show. And there's a character, his name is Jeremiah Fisher on the show, and he's so like kind and bubbly and welcoming and friendly to everyone he meets. And in the show, everyone has a crush on him because he's like the it boy.
Yeah.
And he notices Belly, who's the main girl, and he's always had like a little crush on her, and he's so sweet and kind. And in the show, they actually go through a really tough time. Their mother has cancer and passes away from cancer in the show, but he remains kind and nice and sweet and doesn't let it affect how he treats other people. And he's also respectfully very good looking, and that is my crush. That is my crush list on TV.
That's great. Also, he's very good looking. Mm-hmm. I like how you set that up, and also he's very good looking.
Yes.
I can't help but laugh at this next question. Because I can't picture you doing this, but that's what makes it so great.
Okay.
If you were going to fight someone and you were walking out, so think of like UFC and the fighters are coming out, and they're playing a song, what is that song for you? Like, what's that fight song?
Okay, maybe Unstoppable by Sia.
Yeah!
I actually listen to that when I run. You know, also the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song. You know?
How's it go?
Dun,
dun,
yeah.
Dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
That one.
That's good. That's a good.
Yes, I listen to those when I run, and they give me energy. Not necessarily enough energy to fight someone. I think, unfortunately, I think I would be the fleer, like not the fighter. I don't think anyone
could ever fight you. I just don't know, like, you're...
Yes, I would try to avoid the situation or use my words, hopefully, to calm them down. But I like pump-up songs that hype me up.
I like the Pirates. My daughter and I just watched the first 4 Pirates movies. Mm-hmm. And we went to Disney back in May, so we could... she got to meet the guy dressed as Jack Sparrow, but that song's still very fresh in my head.
Yeah, it's a great song to run to.
I read that you are a certified lifeguard.
Yes, I am.
if you were a character on the show Baywatch, what would your character's name be?
Ooh. Okay. Fun fact, I actually haven't watched Baywatch much, but I obviously know what
Yeah.
it is. But can I keep my name?
Yeah.
I actually, my name's kind of unique, and I don't know a lot of other, I haven't met very many people with my name. I used to hate it, but it's grown on
No,
me.
it's cool. Lanae. I
And
mean,
I
it's.
would keep Lanae, I think.
Now, I was going to say that because, like, and I'm going to ask that question in other podcasts too. But for you, like, the characters always have cool names. It's never, hey, this is Bob or this is Dolores.
Yeah.
And those names are cool, but it's always something like, oh, this is Mitch or this is Michelle or Chad or, just something random. But Lanae's a very cool name.
Thank you.
All right, last question.
Okay.
This is the one I think you prepped for. But if there's a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see and your message on it, one, where would you want that billboard to be? And two, what would you want your message to say?
Okay. This is, yeah, I love that question.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't say that what I'm about to say is the most inspirational ever, but it's something that I know me and my friends have struggled with a lot. And I struggle with as a lieutenant too, because you have a lot of people voicing their opinions at you. And something that I would say, and I hope I don't butcher this, but it's don't take opinions from someone that you wouldn't take advice from. And I think that that's important because people love to be loud, they love to make noise, and they love to tell you what they think about what you're doing, what you stand for, who you hang out with, the decision that you made. And you have to, it can hurt. And I've struggled with that in the past year, especially with online hate or things like that. And my friends and I were talking about this, and would we take advice from that person or would we trade places with that person? And is there anything about the way they live their lives and how they treat people that you admire about them? And if you can't say that, then you shouldn't care about their opinion. Easier said than done. And where I would place that, so I'm a sticky note gal. And I actually put, okay, well, this isn't a billboard, but I put sticky notes on my desk, on my airman's desk, and it's motivational things. So on a smaller level, I would put it where I would see it every day. And then on a bigger level, I guess a billboard or a poster, maybe like in like classrooms or something.
I love that.
Because, sorry, that's not a billboard, but...
No, but that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of different answers, and it's, Times Square is always a very common answer. I think a few people said Google.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of just a sticky notes. That's clever. And I love what you said about, like, not taking advice from, or whatever, opinions and advice. Mm-hmm. But more than that, just saying, hey, this is not someone I want to trade places with. So if I'm not trying to get to that place, like, why do I, but it's hard. We're human. There's haters or hate at all levels in some form or fashion. But I find that sometimes when people are hating, they're just mad at themselves and they're like projecting out, right? It's very tough. But did you have any parting thoughts or parting shots?
Parting remarks.
Yeah.
I would say to people, to whoever's listening to this, that if you're interested in something or you want something, to put in the work to go after it, even if it's scary or even if people don't necessarily agree with you or if you would get made fun of, and to find the internal courage to go for it anyway. For me, the reason that I've gotten all of the opportunities in my career, believe it or not, even all the TDYs and stuff, those weren't handed to me. I begged to go on them. I found the opportunity. I found the reason why it would benefit the Air Force or benefit the unit or be a growth opportunity for me, and I pitched it.
Yeah.
And most of my opportunities have come directly from me asking for them. A lot of people don't ask because they think they're going to be told no. And you may be told no. There was a situation, there's been many situations when I've been told no initially, and then I've come up with a new attack a new approach, maybe waited a little bit and then resuggested it, and then it's gotten approved. And so I would say that no one cares more about your career or your success than you, and so to advocate for yourself.
I love it. I want to end on that note. If you want people to follow you, learn more about you, where do you want them to go?
Yes, so I have Instagram and it's Lanae's Life One. That's my little Air Force account that I like to post about Air Force life and tips and advice and travel. And so that is where you can best find me.
Now I love it, and I'll link all that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining for being on my show, for driving down. I have a gift for you. It's my personal coin.
Oh,
So
this is
yeah, it's nothing like super
awesome.
flashy, right? And I know a lot of people have like these like over the top things. Mine's pretty simple.
I love it. Thank you
So
so much.
my pleasure. It's my honor. And MF doesn't necessarily mean Martin Foster. Use your imagination on what
Yeah.
MF could stand for.
No,
But
I like it.
yeah, but yeah, just this means a lot to me, and I appreciate you just talking about us meeting last year, and it's kind of cool to see how that's come full circle a year later. Um, here we are, like doing a podcast in person. Yeah, and just your support, like you're always so kind to me. Like you have, message, like you're great about responding back to me, and I don't know, I just appreciate like your vibe, your energy, who you are as a person. You're really cool.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thanks.
Thank you.